Welcome to Out of Bounds. Feels kind of weird to be doing that. I mean, this is the fourth reincarnation of the program. I'm John Locke. This is Mary Evers. And what better time to come on with a program than after the end of a 20-year dynasty, 6 championship rings, and countless championship game appearances. But we're going to start there with the New England Patriots. They lost 20-13 against the Tennessee Titans. So the big question here is, what went wrong?
What didn't go wrong is the better question, because if we sit here and talk about what went wrong, we might actually be here for about 50 minutes. So I don't think we should get to that. What went right was, well, nothing. Basically, the biggest problems of this game was their run defense was terrible, but we knew that all year. Whatever, don't fix it, that's fine. Nick Chubb did the same thing against when we played the Browns, and they didn't fix that. So that was wrong. Offense was terrible, but that was all year too. So really shouldn't have been surprised by any of this.
This was pretty much a microcosm of the season. That's what a lot of people aren't figuring out here. The 8-0 start was a pipe dream.
Right.
That was, never land. Guess what? Reality smacks you in the face starting week 9. We'll get to the stats in a second. But let's look at the stats from this game here. Derrick Henry, 34 carries, 182 yards, a Tennessee Titans playoff record, had a touchdown as well. Derrick Henry also had a 22-yard reception, but where this game went wrong was from a coaching standpoint. We'll talk more about this in a little bit, but Bill Belichick, for years, when you have one big offensive target on one side, he always makes you beat him with plan B, C, or D. Mike Vrabel beat Bill Belichick's brains in with plan A, and his name is Derrick Henry. Yeah. As you said, the defense against Derrick Henry was embarrassing, and the Patriots should be embarrassed by this loss.
Right, and it's not even just the defense against the run. Their defense against Tennessee's tight ends was also terrible. Now, we've been talking about how great the New England Patriots defense has been all year, and sure, they have been great. The secondary has been fantastic against wide receivers, and that's literally it. Tight ends get away with everything, and so do running backs, and it's almost like maybe you should hire a defensive coordinator. I know you're Bill Belichick and you think you're a god amongst men, but maybe, just maybe, you need help running your team. Every other coach in the NFL does.
Well, Patriots at this point are going to have a lot less coaches, so maybe Bill Belichick can just do everything.
He might have to.
The turning point in this game was the second quarter. The Patriots had good field position starting from the Tennessee 47 and had first and goal from the Tennessee 1. Now, this is your first show here as one of the co-hosts here, right. So let's put you in the coaching seat here as a 6-time champion. You're going from first and goal on your opponent's 1-yard line. You have to go 1 yard.
Right.
What do you do?
Either give the ball or pass the ball to James White. Do we not remember the Atlanta Super Bowl? Who won that game? Who helped us come back in that game? James White. At the beginning of the game, in the first quarter, James White had one amazing play, and I thought, this is it. This was his game plan, and it was a good game plan. James White has been one of our most reliable offensive players for years now. So we're sitting there and giving the ball to Sony Michel, who has not been having a great season at all, over and over again. It's ridiculous.
So James White's stats, one carry for 14 yards, and he had 5 receptions on 5 targets, so give him credit there. He had all 5 targets connected in there, 62 yards. Now, after that drive, they settled for a field goal, but at the end of the first half, well, actually, let's go back to this drive for a second, because it killed off over 6 minutes, or just about 6 minutes off the game clock.
Right.
You had to burn 2 timeouts with the greatest quarterback of all time and the greatest coach of all time. You had to burn 2 timeouts inside the 5-yard line. And then, what does Tennessee do? They take the ball 75 yards with their human wrecking ball and get a touchdown in the final minute. During the second half, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the Patriots just looked demoralized, like they didn't want to be there. And that's concerning when you have a team of these high-caliber players. Julian Edelman, granted he had, cracked ribs, AC joint problems. Tom Brady is a 42-year-old quarterback. But it was just disheartening to watch this team just roll over and die waiting for the clock to hit 0.
It was almost like because at the beginning of the season when they originally went 8-0, everyone was saying, oh, well, this is how Brady goes out, right? He finally gets his perfect season and wins the Super Bowl at the end of it because God knows Eli Manning wasn't going to stop him this year. And
get Cooper Manning out there.
Right, yeah. I mean, at this point, you may as well. I think Cooper has a son now that might actually probably end up playing against Tom Brady, but I digress. it was almost like once they hit 8-1, Tom Brady decided, well, it's not going to be this year that I retire. It's not going to be this year that I finally accomplish everything I want to. So I'm just going to fake it for the rest of the season and just get it over with as quick as possible.
So as a Celtics fan, I'm always cheery about everything. Banner 18, banner 19. Yeah. I'm looking through everything with green glasses. Patriot fans looked at this season with blue glasses. And after the first 8 games of the season, they won games by about 24 points a game. Weeks 1 through 8, they played Buffalo, who's a playoff team, but everyone else who they played wasn't a playoff team.
Right.
You look at weeks 9 through 17, granted 1 week was a bye, but 5 of those games were against playoff teams, including Baltimore, Kansas City, Houston, who, big shock, are all in the playoffs. If you take weeks 9 through 17, New England outscored their opponents 170 to 164. You look at how they did against the playoff teams this year, Buffalo, Houston, Kansas City, teams like that. They got outscored by the opposition 125 to 115. This second half of the season was eye-opening, and this kind of leads me to my next question here. Was the season a choke job?
I think so, because honestly, as bad as we want to say the offense was, because it was bad, they didn't even try, I think, at least this is my opinion, whatever. They didn't even try to help the new guys get going in the offense. And now I know for years everyone's been talking about how complicated the Patriots offense is and how Tom Brady's some kind of football genius and Bill Belichick's a football genius and we're all going to pretend that Josh McDaniels is a good coach. But if you have a receiving core where for most of it, Julian Edelman is your only returning receiver from the year before, why not stop and maybe dumb it down a little bit so you can actually make something out of yourself with these new guys and get them in going into your offense? Mohamed Sanu had a mediocre season at best. N'Keal Harry had a terrible season. And the Jacoby Myers and Gunnar Olszewski, what happened to them? Remember at the beginning of the season we were talking about them so much? They disappeared.
Well, Jacoby Myers was inactive for the game against the Titans, but nonetheless.
I didn't even know that.
This was a choke job, and I compare this, a little bit to what happened back in 2011 for the Red Sox. When this season started, everyone thought this team was going to go to the Super Bowl, or at the very least, a conference championship game, which is reasonable for this team. You have Antonio Brown come onto the team week 2. We all know how that ended. But after that, the team was clicking, and we might have taken the bait on the fact they went 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. And, it's kind of like what the Red Sox did in 2011. They were 40 games over 500 through the dog days of the summer, and then reality hit. And I remember writing about this a little bit, that my question is going to be for the Patriots, what happens when they find adversity? Because the first 8 weeks of the season, they didn't find any adversity. They played the string out. Everything they did was gold. But what happens when something doesn't go your way? And we found out what happened. You fall on your face. The offensive line was a joke this year. You have Marshall Newhouse, who I said you'd be better off having Milhouse play over Marshall Newhouse. Isaiah Wynn, he's only played half a season. We talk about Bill Belichick being this great head coach. What is he as a general manager? He's a mediocre, middle-of-the-range GM.
Yeah.
You think about this season. You had Antonio Brown. That didn't work out. Fine. Good riddance to him. But Mohamed Sanu, a lot of people forget that you basically had your choice, Mohamed Sanu or Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is a more explosive receiver. Sanu was more of a locker room guy, which at that point I think they needed. But from a game plan standpoint, I feel like Sanders gives you more of an offensive presence than what Sanu did. And, look at the drafting as well. Isaiah Wynn missed half the season. N'Keal Harry missed half the season. Sony Michel basically dumped himself on the 1-yard line of a playoff game. For all the accolades we give Bill Belichick as a coach, think about what he's done as general manager. He's hit cold a couple times, but still, it all goes on him, and I think this was a choke job.
Yeah, it definitely has.
And we go back to the game as well. Coaching decisions factoring into this loss. We talked about James White not getting in on the goal-to-go situation. Not even seeing the football field on 3 straight plays. They had a kick on 4th down. But 4th quarter time possession, Mike Vrabel beat Bill Belichick at his own game, which was kind of funny to watch with
Right.
the 5-minute mark. You see Mike Vrabel kind of giggling up and down the sideline. Bill Belichick is losing his freaking mind on his sideline with 5 minutes to go in a playoff game.
I mean, this all goes back to when Bill Belichick pulled the same crap with the Jets at the beginning of the season. I mean, he even said after that game, I exposed a loophole, they should close it. Well, guess what? They weren't going to close it within the season. They don't meet for the rules until after the season's over. So someone was bound to use that against him. And of course it was Mike Vrabel. Of course it was. Because the only people that are good at beating Bill Belichick are his former players and his former coaches.
And then also week 17 against the Dolphins, inside the 2-minute warning, they basically took a knee on the entire 2-minute warning, which you don't see. And then also in the final couple minutes of that game on Saturday night, did you notice Julian Edelman coming up right to the line of scrimmage for that punt that they were going to try and block? He wasn't back to the field to punt. That was a big blown call by Bill Belichick and the special teams, because then you had the ball inside the 1, and we all know how it ends with Logan Ryan. But I think this game was a microcosm of the season as a whole.
Right, and I feel like as much credit as we're giving Mike Vrabel and Derrick Henry, and they deserve a lot of credit, their punter was so on point this whole entire game. I think he really made a difference with wins and losses in that game. He really did.
All right, so let's look ahead to the future here. Of course, there's something happening on March 18th. 6-time Super Bowl champion, going to be a free agent, going to go somewhere else, leave New England in the dust. That's right. Tom Brady is going to be a free agent for the first time in his 20-year career. So where does he go next?
He's not going anywhere. I think he's going to learn quickly that no team, at least no smart team, is going to offer a 42-year-old quarterback $35 million a year. It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is the same thing that happened all the time. The Patriots' big-name players are hit the free agent market. The Patriots are going to lowball him. He's going to think he's being slighted because he won 6 championships. And you know what? Good for him. He definitely deserves to get paid in somehow. But he did this to himself, honestly. He can't stay in one team and take pay cut after pay cut after pay cut, and then after 20 years, at 42 years old, say, hey, you know what? I deserve the same money as Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. I mean, even Jameis Winston is asking for $30 million a year, and he had 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions this year. But he knows that this is a point in my career where I asked for this kind of money because at the age of 30, 40, whatever, you're not going to get that money. No one in their right mind is going to give Tom Brady at 42 years old that money, which is why he'll be a Patriot for $25 million next year.
Yeah, hold on to that. There might be one team that's going to shell out $25-30 million a year. One team that's playing on the West Coast, kind of the ugly stepchild out in L.A. How about your Los Angeles Chargers?
Not my Los Angeles Chargers. That's a terrible team.
This makes sense, actually, for Tom Brady from a football standpoint, because the Chargers have no allegiances to their coach, Anthony Lynn. Let's just play the what-if game here for a second. Tom Brady agrees to go to Los Angeles to play for the Chargers. He wants his coach in there, so it can be Josh McDaniels, it could be Chad O'Shea, it could be whoever. Offensively, I think that Los Angeles is a good fit. They have a couple of running backs that do a great job, and Austin Eckler and Ingram, I think, is the other one.
No, Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon.
But the problem is Melvin Gordon is a free agent, I believe, at the end of the season. So, and he tried to hold out for more money going into this year, and they didn't give it to him. So who knows if he actually stays with the Chargers.
And then there's also a tight end that can actually catch the ball and make something happen. So there's options there. Here in Foxborough, when it comes to these calls, whether it's to get rid of somebody early or late, Bill always gets rid of somebody early. Tom Brady has become a quarterback that isn't about, trying to bring everyone up with him. He walks into training camp day one. He wants everybody to know the book of Brady by heart. That's why you have receivers like N'Keal Harry blowing his route. Jacoby Myers not seeing the field at all. Philip Dorsett, he's a dumpster fire. Mohamed Sanu, he's a dumpster fire. All these dumpster fire receivers have no idea what's going on because Tom Brady is off doing Tom versus Time on Facebook Watch or whatever. Tom Brady needs to show that he gives a damn about this football team. And if he comes back to Foxborough, have him participate in OTAs, even if it's voluntary OTAs. Get him to show up. Show that he cares about this football team. The reason why he's not going to get the money from the Patriots is because, well, what have you done for me? You're a 42-year-old quarterback going into 43. I understand the background story, but the past year, you can't think with the blue goggles I was talking about. You can't think about the 6 championships. I understand that he's done a lot for the Patriots, but you have to think about what he's done recently.
He won a Super Bowl less than a year ago.
How do you do this year?
Okay, but that's also because he really didn't have. Now, I know you're right. He should be going to practices. He should be helping out the receivers get better at whatever they're doing. However, I also don't think that it's fair to write someone off simply because he had one bad year. He also had a bad year in between the 3-3 Super Bowls. Did we just get rid of him? No. I'm pretty sure next year was the year that they went 18-0 or
yeah, there were a couple of
16-0
Super
or
Bowl
whatever it
collapses
was.
in there or whatever against the Giants, but
Yeah.
and then
Well, we just wait and see when Eli Manning is your starting quarterback next year when Tom Brady's in Los Angeles.
so week 1 or day 1 of the 2020 NFL season, who do you think the quarterback of the Patriots will be?
Jared Stidham.
I think it's going to be Teddy Bridgewater.
I wouldn't mind that. I would like a Bridgewater Patriots shirt. That would be awesome. We could wear them on Out of Bounds.
There you go.
It
We
would
can
be
wear them
great.
around Bridgewater.
It would be great.
But getting back to Brady for a second, we've never seen a quarterback perform to this level at this age. The closest we have is Brett Favre, who got bounty gated out of the NFC Championship game, or Peyton Manning, who went out on top. Now, realistically, I think that's what Tom Brady wants. He wants to be that guy that goes out on top, just like Peyton Manning, just like John Elway. But he needs to show that he cares, and I think that has to be part of the contract stipulations if he signs with the Patriots again.
Well, I think you have to think about the circumstances surrounding a Brett Favre or a Peyton Manning, because they both got kicked out of their teams. Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck showed up and were like, well, you know what? We don't actually need you anymore. Jared Stidham is not Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers. I'm sorry. I'm sure the kid's great, probably a really great guy. Who cares? He's not Aaron Rodgers or Andrew Luck. The Patriots don't have anyone right now that can be the guy if Tom Brady leaves, unless they decide to work some kind of miracle to trade up for Tua in the draft.
That's a whole other story for another time. If
Just
only
saying, a Nick Saban quarterback to become a Bill Belichick quarterback, it's like kismet or something.
If only the Patriots had a quarterback waiting behind Tom Brady that could have done something like Jimmy Garoppolo, 49ers, and whatever.
Jimmy Garoppolo would have been a great replacement for Tom Brady. That's why the 49ers stole him. So
And the 49ers play this weekend while the Patriots start prepping for the draft. So that'll do it for this Out of Bounds debut, reboot, something.
We're here. We'll be back, I hope.
It'll be on the BTV Facebook page. Don't forget, check us out on YouTube as well, BTV Access Corporation, and we'll see you later.